Google. Let's go get him again.
Welcome back to the Robezoid channel. I'm your host, Mark, and welcome to your Sampling Samples Saturday, which is your subscriber's choice. You chose this one. It is from the brand of Paco Rabanne and its famed 1 million lineup. This one called 1 million Elixir. So everybody's doing elixirs these days. What I've noticed lately is brands are utilizing the same nose to do the same thing with all their big name sellers. Armani Code, Azar Wanted, Le Male, 1 million, among others. And that nose is Quentin Bish. Quentin Bish, he has this vanillic Tonka backbone that he utilizes in a lot of designer flankers in the men's aisle, and it shoots all the creativity basically out of the window of each fragrance in this brand. Like like Le Male, he just destroyed that, in my personal opinion, among others. And he just makes them vanillic bombs. That's pretty much it, with a little bit of a ghost of the original DNA of this top seller. He's one of the noses in this one. They brought back at an 02, but and it's just, lo and behold, I go in the note breakdown and there's vanilla there, and I just take a sigh. I'm just like, oh, is this going to smell like everything else? And it does. So let's see what I get out of this. Is this a flanker that you should be checking out? But let's go under the hood. Let's take a look at some stats on this one beforehand. Our release date was last year, 2022. Concentrations Parfum Intense. Noses, of course, Bish and Christophe Renault, which they brought back. Absolutely love Renault. Bish, I'm souring on him. I'll be quite honest. You know, I do like noses in their particular DNAs that they put in certain fragrances. You know, I know their signatures, and some of them I love it. They're creative with them. They play around with them. This is just a vanillic bomb that, and I'm gonna get into it. So let's get into the notes. And obviously vanilla is one of the big ones. It's a heavy vanillic fragrance, heavy. And it's not a very good vanillic note, in my personal opinion, as far as even designer realm goes. There's also an apple note up top, which is completely blows my mind. And I mean that in a weird way, like you're expecting an orange top note with 1 million. And then rose. So the rose is back. Florals, I think it was the Parfum edition that they introduced a tuberose, I believe, which was actually not too bad. Here the rose is back. I think they also introduced osmanthus, so another floral. So it all depends on your palate as far as a man goes. Not all men are going to like this particular release, I can tell already. So let's get into sniffing. I have my sample here. It is almost done. I am wearing this as my scent of the day, but that is basically the end of it. And I just want to remind myself of this introduction. And from first sniff, I was completely shocked on this release. From what I smelled here, I was like, no orange, you know. There's not that familiar 1 million DNA. There's zero, none. The familiar cinnamon orange combo, long gone. Now we're gonna get back to the cinnamon, but the orange is long gone. I was met with an apple of all things, a green apple. And this green apple brought me to a certain place, and it brought me to the same one utilized in the late 90s by Hugo Boss. That's where this brought me to. And it's the start of this actually kind of confused me a bit and did not bring me to 1 million territory. The green apple is definitely fruity, of course. Synthetic, yeah, of course. But I think the noses that liked, you know, the addition of pear in Le Male and the Ultra Male, they may like this. They may like this difference from the 1 million DNA. I'm indifferent to this green apple thing. It's okay. It's nothing that stands out to me personally. It's not overly authentic or anything like that as far as an apple note goes, and it's not very It's pronounced, but it's not very pronounced. I've had apple-based fragrances that has a real pronounced apple that will live a little bit with the fragrance. This one is very short-lived. It's pronounced in the opening by itself, and then things start moving into place. That's when you start losing the apple note. But I'm very much indifferent to this thing. I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's just there. Now this green apple note is met with a watery rose note. Rose was very much prominent in the original 1 million and also in a lot of the flankers that followed it in the early years. It's nice to see that familiar face back again, but the rose isn't the same type of rose that I felt in the original 1 million. This one's a little more watery here, a little green, less dense, less thick, and it did paired well with the apple. I'll be honest, it did well. The osmanthus in here is a player. Osmanthus is a new addition, and I love osmanthus as a note. Actually, it's a pretty good floral note. And it does great things, especially when you hit that apricot from it, that apricot fruitiness. And this note here, it can turn a scent more feminine to a lot of the younger male noses, and I can see that. Osmanthus can project a beautiful apricot note. I don't think it does here, personally. I don't see it here. It shows more of its floral tendencies here. Some of its milky aspects I can detect in this fragrance. Some of its woody aspects, very faint but still there. And some of its leathery aspects too, again, very faint. All very mild. However, but with now the rose getting introduced, which is a different type of rose, and kind of a leathery touch, it starts making me think of the original 1 million a little bit more now. I do get a little bit of that Divana, which is in the top notes of this release as well, giving me almost like a sweet tea herbal quality, a bit. Like it's very minute. Divana also has some fruity properties, so I can see that helping out here. Now, I don't think cinnamon is in the note breakdown, but I can sense some sort of spicy kick, which is almost down to a mute. You really need to dig down to really smell this. It makes me very much indifferent to this release, as they really tried to recreate the 1 million DNA, but it was so much of a ghost of itself. The opening starts showing more of this vanillic backbone that Bish is known for. It's starting to come in, it creeps into the scent, and will eventually just take over the whole set, basically. This opening, because it's devoid of real spices, you know, that cinnamon's very minor. Here, woods, there is some woods here in the back end, and we're gonna talk about that, but there's no woods in this opening. There's really no substance. It's mostly floral, fruity aspects that make me think this fragrance can be very much unisex. I can see women grabbing onto this release, actually, at least in this opening. And then it's going to kind of put away some of the crowd that really did like the 1 million DNA, and they feel like this is way too fruity floral for them. Now, into the mid of 1 million Elixir, the scent starts transitioning into this vanillic, more vanillic than tonka bean bomb. The vanilla at times is creamy, especially in that opening, and I think it helps with the florals. Then it starts going into this Bish cloud of not a very good vanilla note. It really is engulfing the whole fragrance and all of its personality, basically. It's lots of vanilla. You lose the apple, you lose any of the fruity pieces. They're gone now. The rose continues to push here with the vanilla, and you start getting some small instances of woods, mostly cedar, and it kind of smells like wood chips. And I do like that. I really did like that in here. And there's a chocolatey patchouli hiding in this fog of vanillic quality. So you're gonna smell some chocolatey patchouli. They go in and out of the scent. You really have to pay attention, because if I didn't really pay attention, I probably wouldn't catch that. Fairly linear as a scent, actually, to be quite honest. Once you lose the green apple note, you don't get much transition here. And sadly, this vanillic cloud does not apologize, as it takes the central part of the scent, and many of the notes surrounding that are unrecognizable. Honestly, it really is just a bomb. Overall, I'm going back to it. Yeah, And overall, this makes me feel very indifferent, just like Le Male Elixir. Like I just unboxed and I had a samples just like this on Le Male Elixir, and I got it. But to my nose, it really feels like that fragrance. What happens is it's devoid of anything special that the original DNA had. The brand is utilizing, first of all, its moneymaker. The bottle, the name, put in this vanillic tonka, more vanillic than tonka backbone that just engulfs everything. I liked Bish early on as a nose. I really did. I felt like he may be one of those up and comers back in the day, and I'm not gonna blame him mostly, but he's clearly not original anymore. Perhaps the blame doesn't go to him, it goes to these brands that just keep, I don't know what the brief is. Is it just smell like everything else on the counter? You know, we'll just do our own. You know, bring back a Renault and try to get a little bit of that 1 million DNA in the back end, and that's it. They go to him and they sign off on these. And again, you can blind me here, and I do smell a little bit of the 1 million DNA, but you can blind me and I could go, this is an Azzaro fragrance, this is a Mont Blanc fragrance. It has no personality. And some of the best designer fragrances, and you think about the top sellers that are still around. Let's go with Le Male, Acqua di Gio, fragrances from even the 90s to early 2000s that are still selling like hotcakes and doing well. They were different. And the ones that are pretenders, they're not around anymore. And this is where I'm going with these. I know a lot of people defend these elixirs and go, oh, this is great. Like, I just had a comment on my Le Male elixir. Some guy wrote, like, this is the top selling, it's never going to be discontinued. Okay. No, this is going to be discontinued 100%. But going back, I look forward to the day that this vanillic Bish bomb is no longer in style. Honestly, it's just, that's, you know, I don't know if I'm getting old in age now, but it's just getting a little redundant as a fragrance reviewer. Like, how many times does someone like myself goes on camera and says this is a 10 out of 10, you should check this out? I can't do it. I really can't. So now let's get into seasons, day, night, versatility, and performance. Seasons, this is fall, winter, spring. I see the qualities in this release, and again, it's a vanillic fragrance. It can be very much easy to wear all seasons, but vanillic fragrances do well in the tweeners, the fall and spring, but also winter because they do have a little bit of backing to them. Day or night, I feel like this is more of a nighttime scent. I feel like it's too casually, you can wear it during the day, sure, but I feel like it's too playful for a daytime type scent. Versatility, fairly average. I feel like there is some restrictions, you know, dressing this one up, but it depends on your age range. If you're younger, you're probably going to wear this as a signature. Performance. Performance, again, everybody sees these elixirs and thinks they're bombs. No, this gave me 6 to 8 hours as far as longevity and average projection on skin. It really didn't push crazy, and there's a lot of 1 millions that do push a lot. This is not one of them. I feel like it was a little more muted than the rest of them. So my final thoughts on this release is the more I smell these flankers attached to Bish, the more I'm going to avoid his creations. I'll review them if you want me to, but honestly, as a fragrance reviewer, it's almost insulting. I really can't, you know, there's just this big bomb, vanillic bomb. That's all it is, and there's just little nuances here and there, and that's about it. I don't know how much more I can test his scents that smell alike. The green apple reminds me of the 90s. It's an interesting flip to the 1 million DNA, but it kind of just shocked me initially, and then I just went, oh, okay. Doesn't really remind me of 1 million. They tried to utilize different notes to recreate the 1 million DNA, try to be a little creative, and I see that somewhere in there, but that was my issue with Le Male Elixir. They kept it around, but they really didn't. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. You only need one of these. If you own this one, I don't think there's any real reason for you to own 3 or 4 of these. The originality docks the score here. It really does. I can't give it a really good score, but at the same time, I can see people rocking this. There is worse in the game, yes. and it does have its some redeeming qualities. I can see people liking this. I'll give it an okay score because it's an okay fragrance, but it's not original, and that's the whole point of this release, of this fragrance review. And it's just like Le Male Elixir. I cannot give it a 10 out of 10 when you smell like an Azzaro fragrance. It just, where's the substance? That's where I'm thinking. So it's okay. It's not original. It really is kind of tippy-toeing. Is it really a 1 million flanker? Like, it really is there, but not there. So at the end of the day, yeah, as far as score goes, out of 10, I don't know. Like, the differences here, the things that were, you know, it's a vanillic bomb. Got it. Okay. The green apple, shocking. Was it good? It's okay. I'm gonna have to give this one a 6 bottles out of 10. It's an okay release. It's nothing that is gonna stand out. There's a lot better in the designer game. You just gotta search for it. Unfortunately, these big names, big brands, fancy bottles, fancy packaging, but in the back end, it's kind of sad. And Quentin, I know you're not watching, but holy dude. You know, you gotta stop. I know you gotta feed your family, but holy, these brands. Anyway, 6 out of 10. Now that you're my take, I'd love to see yours in the comments below. Good, bad, and again, you can give your take. I will, you know, always let people give out their opinions. And I know you're gonna give, like, you know, performance. No, there's bigger performance on this than what he's saying. I get it. You're gonna try to tell people that it's a compliment monster. I get it. Oh man, this thing is just uninspiring. Yep. So as always, a great report fragrance will make a lasting impression. Choose your 1 million flanker wisely. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Have a good one.